Right now, you have 47 apps on your phone, a streaming service with 10,000 movies you'll never watch, and a podcast for literally every hyper-specific interest you have. And yet, you are bored out of your mind. But here's a question that will ruin your sleep tonight. What did ancient humans do when they were bored? No, I'm not talking about medieval knights or ancient Egyptians. We're going back way further. 150,000 years ago. No iPhones, no books, no music, not even a proper language. Just a bunch of Homo sapiens sitting in a dark cave with absolutely nothing to do. The answer to this question doesn't just explain how we survived. It changes everything we know about human creativity, how religion started, and why your brain feels so broken when your Wi-Fi drops for 5 minutes. But first, did boredom even exist back then? Or were we too busy running from saber-toothed cats? For decades, scientists assumed our ancestors were basically in a permanent survival mode. Every waking hour was spent hunting, foraging, and trying not to die. No time for boredom, right? Well, in 1966, an anthropologist named Marshall Salins flipped the scientific world upside down. He studied the Kung San people of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last societies living the original human lifestyle. And what he found was wild. They didn't work 40 hours a week. They didn't even work 30. They worked about 15 to 20 hours a week. That's it. A 3-hour workday. The rest of the time, they just sat there. They napped, they talked, they stared at the horizon. Salins called them the original affluent society, not because they had wealth, but because they had something much more valuable: time. More free time than any modern American corporate worker could ever dream of. So yes, ancient humans had massive amounts of downtime, and when you have that much downtime, boredom hits hard. So what did they do? Let's look at the evidence. In 2010, archaeologists in South Africa found a collection of 75,000-year-old snail shells in a place called Blombos Cave. They had holes drilled through them and were coated in red ochre. These weren't tools. They weren't weapons. They were beads, jewelry. Think about the sheer madness of this. Imagine sitting in a cave 75,000 years ago. No electricity, no metal drills. Just you, a sharp rock, and a tiny shell. Drilling that hole took hours, maybe days of tedious, mind-numbing repetition. Why would anyone do that? Because the alternative was staring at a blank cave wall for 14 hours. Necessity didn't invent art. Pure, unadulterated boredom did. And it wasn't just art, it was music. In 2008, researchers dug up a 40,000-year-old flute made from a vulture's bone. It had 5 perfectly carved finger holes. Before agriculture, before cities, before America was even a thought on a map, someone had a free afternoon and a bird bone, and they invented music. Neuroscientists argue that our brains were actually wired for rhythm before we even developed complex language. Music is literally what your brain does to process silence when there's nothing else to do. But boredom did something way more powerful than just making jewelry and music. It invented your imagination. See, animals don't get bored the way we do. Your dog waiting by the door isn't experiencing an existential crisis. It's just waiting. Animals live in a permanent now. To be bored, you need a superpower, the concept of time. You have to realize that this moment is lasting too long, and that the future could be different. Now, imagine that human 100,000 years ago staring into a campfire. Nothing is happening. The brain gets restless. It starts wandering. It starts asking questions. What if the hunt goes wrong tomorrow? What's beyond that mountain range? Where do we go when our bodies stop moving? Every major question in religion, philosophy, and science didn't start in a university. It started because an ancient human was bored out of their mind, and their brain started hallucinating answers to fill the void. But there's one more thing they did, and honestly, it's the reason you and I are here today. They talked. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar discovered something fascinating about human speech. When we aren't talking about work or survival, 65% of all human conversation is just social gossip. Who is sleeping with who? Who can we trust? Who stole the extra meat? Dunbar argues that language didn't evolve so we could coordinate mammoth hunts. It evolved to replace grooming. Chimpanzees bond by picking bugs off each other's backs. But that's a one-on-one job. Language allowed us to groom 3, 10, or 20 people at the same time around a fire. Boredom forced us to start telling stories about each other. In short, boredom invented gossip, and gossip invented human society. So let's bring it back to you. Sitting there with 47 apps, probably watching this video at 1.5x speed. Modern psychology has a terrifying term for our current state: cognitive overload. We have officially eradicated boredom. Every time there is a second of silence, in an elevator, in the bathroom, at a red light, we pull out the glowing rectangle. But when you kill boredom, you kill the default mode network in your brain. That's the exact neural network that triggers creativity, self-reflection, and empathy. It only turns on when you are doing absolutely nothing. For 300,000 years, human beings use silence to build civilization. In the last 15 years, we've used smartphones to drown it out. So next time you feel that urge to pull out your phone because you're bored, don't. Sit with it. Let your mind wander. Because that uncomfortable, quiet feeling, that's not a waste of time. That's the exact feeling that made the bead, invented the flute, and looked up at the stars to ask why. Boredom didn't hold us back. It's what made us human. Stay bored, my friends, and subscribe for more ways to fix your brain.